Well, you don't want to miss this. We've all seen Mark Zuckerberg's announcement about the latest massive moderation policy changes at Meta, which many praised as a step in the right direction when it comes to protecting people's First Amendment rights. The View decided to weigh in on the topic, and things were quick to get out of control. Alyssa decided that enough was enough, and she was not having any more of their interruptions. She stood her ground, sparked a heated debate that left the panel in chaos, and today we're covering it all, and you won't believe how intense things got. As always, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this.
The new rules on Meta, Facebook, they're imperfect. I will say this. I think it's a balance between content moderation, free speech, and fact-checking. I actually think, listen, X has become a hellhole for a lot of reasons, but I think that community notes actually work. You have to cite your source.
Let me interrupt you. What does free speech have to do with fact-checking?
Because it's imperfect. It's not as simple as the sky is blue, the grass is green. We know the facts on that. Sometimes it comes into opinions or viewpoints. This is still a town square. I tend to be a free speech absolutist as long as it's not harming someone else.
We know the difference between an opinion and a fact. We do it every day.
A lot of this can be viewpoints where somebody could say, well, this is my viewpoint on it, and they were moderating things around language you used around certain issues.
Well, to Joy's point, who gets to become the person who decides what's considered factual and what's not? Especially when it's something as subjective as politics, and do the fact checkers have someone fact checking them as well? Of course not. Now, back in 2016, Meta decided it should not be the arbiter of the truth and launched their independent fact-checking program where they partnered with companies certified through the International Fact-Checking Network and the European Fact-Checking Standards Network. But these companies had no power to take their posts down or limit their reach. It was Meta's algorithm doing it. In other blog posts, they announced contributing more than $100 million to finance these companies. Let's take a look at some of them, shall we? We have the likes of AFP, USA Today, and wait for it, Reuters.
Journalists, like people that are, work for the New York Times, they know how to fact check. Journalism students are taught you fact check 3 different sources.
Journalists have gotten things wrong, though.
So this notion that, the reason that they're doing this is because, they can't fact check it.
But free speech gives you a right to be wrong. I have a right to post something that's inaccurate. I have a right to say the grass is blue.
Facts are different.
That shouldn't be taken down simply because it's fact, not true.
Disinformation is different.
This is where things started to get heated, and Whoopi had to go into a commercial break at the producer's request because things were slowly getting out of hand. But to Sunny's point, that's quite rich from her, especially if you consider most of the legal notes they read on the show are because of their spreading misinformation and disinformation, as she likes to label it. So if she wants her opinion to have any value in talking about facts, well, she should start practicing what she's preaching. Maybe then the show might become watchable. Sunny was given the chance to talk after the commercial break, and she was trying to analyze the grand scheme of things.
Let's just break it down to bare bones. This is about President-elect Trump going back to the White House. Mark Zuckerberg and Meta dined with Trump at Mar-a-Lago in November. Meta just donated $1 million to support his inauguration. Zuckerberg also elevated Joel Kaplan, the highest-ranking Meta executive closest to the Republican Party, to the company's most senior policy role. And on Monday, Zuckerberg said Dana White, the head of the Ultimate Fighting Championship and an ally of Trump's, would join Meta's board. This is about the fact that our many corporations, and especially these oligarchs that own these social media companies, are bowing down to Trump so that they can make money off of American people.
I'd say it's pretty funny how the tables have turned. For years, the left had no problem with social media companies censoring voices they disagreed with, back when platforms like Twitter and Facebook were flagging posts, banning accounts, and outright silencing conservatives. It was all justified in the name of combating misinformation or protecting democracy. The narrative was simple: if you're being silenced, you probably deserve it. But now that there's been a shift in the conversation, they're suddenly crying wolf. The hypocrisy is astounding. Multiple examples come to mind here, like the Hunter Biden laptop saga or prominent conservatives being deplatformed for daring to speak their mind. But now that the playing field is starting to level out, they can't handle it. The truth is, censorship should never have been the answer, no matter who's in charge.
So this is actually actually more complex than we're making it. But on the free speech of it, and I actually agreed with Mark Zuckerberg, of course there's pressure because Trump's coming into office, but I do think that there's a cultural and societal desire to be able to talk about things openly. And actually, liberals used to be the ones who were super pro-free speech. The famous saying goes, I disagree with what you're saying, but I'll defend to the death your right to say.
Yes,
so
but I will not defend to the death your right to call me.
Here.
Sometimes it happens like this. Be nice. She didn't talk for 20 minutes.
And I always like hearing what to say.
Go ahead.
But that's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to make the point that hate speech, something that incites violence, is not legally ever protected under the First Amendment. My ability to say a housewife is a household object, I can say that. It can offend you. I don't agree with it, but you absolutely, under the First Amendment, have a right to say it. And the fact that we're policing speech because it makes people uncomfortable or they don't like it or it offends them, I don't think it's how we should engage it.
If somebody decides, as they do often on these social media places, to call me
don't even say the word.
Well, let's be.
I get death threats on social media.
If we're going to have this conversation, then let's have it.
All right, go ahead.
Because if we're going to do that.
And let's get one thing straight. Just because you're screaming doesn't mean you're right. Quite the opposite. And I want to know which one of you has been sending Alyssa our videos, because we've repeated time after time that speech should never be limited by someone else's feelings because they're all subjective. And what offends one person might amuse another. Throughout history, the most important conversations have been uncomfortable, be it civil rights, social justice, or democracy. They've provoked, challenged, and yes, upset people. But the discomfort is necessary for growth. When feelings dictate the boundaries of speech, we lose the ability to confront difficult truths or hold those in power accountable. Of course, free speech isn't a license to harass or incite violence, but it's a basis of open dialogue and progress. We've heard Whoopi scream about having a conversation, so let's hear what she has to say.
There are certain things where we all agree, boy, you shouldn't be saying that. That is not curbing your free speech. It's asking you to, not you, asking one to respect the fact that people don't want to hear that word when it has to do with them or Native Americans or women or any of these things. That's my point.
But by the way, there is an element of choice that comes into this. I would never subscribe to somebody who would use that language or who would incite
but you're on a site that says now, maybe it's okay to say it.
If by we she means the society, then good luck getting everyone, and I mean 100% of the population, to agree on one single thing. It's just statistically impossible. And if she means the woke left, then her take makes much more sense. For example, back in 2021, CBC released an article titled Words and Phrases You May Want to Think Twice About Using, which included terms like spiritual animal, first world problem, and spooky. If you follow Whoopi's logic, this isn't an attempt to silence you, it's a bunch of words that we have designated as non-acceptable. Joy decided to give her own story here, and I have to share it because of how insightful it is.
There was a time when there were cartoons when I was a kid, right? And they would make fun of Italians. What's the matter, you? He's a everybody was a pizza maker. And I, as a child, I felt like that was offensive to me. So I understand. I have empathy for people who don't like it. When you are making fun of their group in a nasty way. Right. Now, the people who are doing this are not from minority groups. They're from majority groups. And so this is not me saying that every person at this table gets hate speech directed at them every day. No one is. All right, I guess no one gets to finish a sentence here anymore. Okay.
No, I think the point Alyssa is making here is she is a free speech.
Don't speak for her. She speaks very well for herself.
No, but and I'm not doing that.
We all act like we're for free speech when it's the things we like. When somebody wants to defend the free speech of people we disagree with,
that is not true. I don't want you calling me. I don't want people to call.
Comedy needs to be able to push limits.
Joy seems to operate under the unspoken motto of rules for thee, but not for me. She'll talk over people, dismiss their points, and frame their opinions as gospel, but the moment someone does the same to her, well, it's suddenly a crime against humanity. Turns out she can't handle the taste of her own medicine. Watching her throw that tantrum is almost too entertaining and satisfying. Honestly, I don't know if this was partially staged or if Alyssa was told to crank up her support and defense for the conservative point of view, but seeing some common sense being spoken is definitely a welcome change. I'd love to know your thoughts here, so let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below. And by the way, if you want your friends to see this epic back and forth, please share the video with them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.